Hey guys, it's Julie. I told a couple people in comments yesterday that I would come back and do a new video for my homemade Glimmer Mist, or Glimmer Spritz, I guess. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do. I've changed the way I've made it since my previous video, just a little bit. I was using just like plain mica powder, but mica is kind of hard to find, and especially in a larger quantity that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg, really. At least in my experience it has been. So I had seen a video on YouTube, and this was, gosh, it had to have been almost a year ago, and I am completely sorry because I don't know who did the video. But they had talked about some eyeshadow, and if you look at the ingredients on most eyeshadows, it has mica in it, and mica is what gives eyeshadow and glimmer mists and all other kind of things the shimmer quality. So I was at the Dollar General, and I've been using this particular eyeshadow in my Glimmer Mist now for probably about 6 months, maybe a little bit longer. It's the cheapest alternative I can find, and it makes a large quantity, and you can make it as shimmery as you want. The eyeshadow that I'm using is called LA Colors, and it's called Shimmering Loose Eyeshadow with Brush, and I get this at my Dollar Tree. This particular color that I use is called Snow White. This is what I use in just my clear Glimmer Spritz. Okay, this is the stuff that is just the glimmer and alcohol. In my previous videos I was using water, and you can use water. The reason that I switched to alcohol was because it dries a lot faster. It just evaporates. And I really like that because it takes less time to dry your projects. So I thought that I would just go ahead and switch to that. Now, there are a couple things that you're going to need. Try and find the highest percentage of alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, that you can get. Now, I didn't do very much of a search this time. I just kind of ran in and ran out. The Dollar Tree's alcohol was only 50%, so that wasn't enough for me. So I ended up going to the Dollar General, which is just like a, I don't know, just like a, it's called Dollar General, but not everything's a dollar in that store. Like, it's got everything, and that's just the name of it. You know, they have all kinds of stuff, but their isopropyl alcohol was 70%, and that was this morning, and it was freezing cold outside, and I hadn't had a lot of sleep. So I just picked it up and I came home because my husband was going to work on my daughter's car today, so we were kind of in a hurry. So I just ran in and picked it up, and we came home. And this is the one that I got, and I ended up picking up 2 of them. This alcohol was pretty expensive, but maybe that's just how expensive alcohol is now. This was like $2.25. It's 32 ounces. I hadn't had to buy alcohol in a long time because I had just had it in my house, and I ended up using the last of it when I made my glimmer the last time, so I knew I had to get some more. I'm sure if you went to a drugstore, you could get one that has a higher percentage of alcohol, but for me, 70% is okay. So it's basically what it's saying is 70% alcohol, 30% water. So, you know, that's okay. Yeah, so anyway, so this one was $2.25. I ended up picking up 2, so I knew I wouldn't run out for a while. Because 32 ounces, that's a lot, and it'll last for a good long time. So what I do is I keep my Glimmer Mist in these big spray bottles. These are spray bottles that I got from Hobby Lobby. They were $1.99. Now I'll tell you why I put it in this bottle. I know a lot of people say that their Glimmer Mist clogs. Well, if you look at this sprayer, I don't know if you can see the bottom of that or not. Let's see if I can get it to focus a little bit better. There's small holes in it, okay? And this piece pops off. This is like a filter, okay? So this keeps your sprayer up here from getting clogged. And I think I left a piece of this in the bathroom when I was cleaning it out. So anyway, so that's why I pay $1.99 for these. And since I only use clear most of the time anymore now, I find that $1.99 for a spray bottle isn't bad. Now, I was, and I still do use these, buying the spray bottles from Walmart or from the dollar store or whatever. and making my colored ones in these, because colored ones, you know, I don't use as often, I find, because I find that I use my Lindy Stamp Gang a little bit more than I use my homemade mists, but I shouldn't, because I should use these up because I have a bunch of them, but I just find that I use my Lindy Stamp Gang a little bit more now. But these ones were like $1 from, they were 99 cents, and I had picked them up from Hobby Lobby too. But I know that the Dollar Tree sells their perfume, like the body spray and stuff, in these size containers, which is about double of what the other ones are. And they're $1 as well. So you get a little bit more, and you just dump out the perfume. Yeah, your Glimmer Mist is, even if you wash it out, your Glimmer Mist is still going to smell like the perfume a little bit, but that's okay. It gives it a little bit of fragrance, I guess. So those are the kind of bottles that I use. But for my ones that I use a lot, like I know I'm going to use this gold a lot, and I know that I use my clear a lot. I pay the $2 for the bottle because it has that little filter on the end, so I know that it's not going to get clogged. Okay, so let's go ahead and get on with it, and I'll show you what I do to make mine, what my little recipe is. You're going to need whatever you're going to use for the glimmer. So if you have mica that you want to use, or you want to use your magicals from Lindy Stamp Gang, or you want to use Pearl X, which I've used Pearl X lots of times, and you can buy Pearl X from Hobby Lobby or from Michael's in these bigger size containers in their clay department, where they sell like all of their clay. They sell these Pearl X pigments for a lot cheaper than what you can buy them in the scrapbooking department. These were, I think this was like $4.99 for this good size bottle, and it has like an ounce, I think, in it. I don't know how much it has, but it has a lot. I mean, if you open it up, you can see it's got a ton. I mean, you're not going to use all this. So I had purchased this before I knew about the eyeshadow, so that's why I got this. That's why I paid so much for it. But now that I know, I'll be buying this more often than using up that, unless I need it for something special. Okay, and then you're also going to need some type of glue. I'm going to use glossy accents. You can use diamond glaze or anything clear, but it has to be, and you know, you don't want to use like a milky white glue or a tacky glue or anything like that, because it's not going to dissolve. And you don't need very much of it. Just this, all this is going to do is make it stable so that all of the glimmer doesn't flick off when you are just moving your project around. You can also use hairspray. Hairspray works really good as well too. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. I make my clear glimmer in this jar. I've made it in this jar for the longest time. And all I do is I fill it all the way up with alcohol, because then I refill my spray bottle out of this. So I'm going to make my mixture in here. And what I do is I just fill it up with the alcohol. Now, if you're having aversion to the smell of alcohol, well, you might not want to use this recipe. And like I said, you can just use plain water. It's no big deal. But the reason that I use alcohol now is because it dries a lot faster, and you don't get that residual smell either. Once it's been sprayed, the smell evaporates as well. So I'm just going to fill this up with my alcohol. And you see that took about probably a little more than 16 ounces to fill this up. And then in order to get to the mica and to the eyeshadow that's in here, instead of going through the top where there's just a little bitty hole, like if you pull out this brush, you can just see that small hole, and you'll be shaking forever if you do it. Now, if you don't feel like doing what I did, that's fine too. But what I do is I just take my little picker thing. This came with my silhouette, I think, and you can tell like the end has been like bent back all over the place. And I just stick it in the little hole that's in the bottom, and I just pry that out, okay? And then the whole thing is open on the bottom. Now, this is where you need personal preference. I use in this 16-ounce container, or a little bit more than 16-ounce container, more than half of this eyeshadow. You probably don't need that much, but I just like things like super sparkly, so I use a lot. Now, if you're making a much smaller container, okay, like say you're only going to be using this size bottle, you only need like a little bit of this. You don't need a bunch, just like a little scoop of it. Like if you take a paintbrush, let's see, if you take a paintbrush and you just push it in and then you just stir it around with that, that's probably enough for a smaller bottle. But since I'm using a big one, I'm going to use quite a bit more than that. So I'm just going to use the end of my paintbrush and I'm just going to dump it in. Okay. And then what I'll do is I will put my glue in, and then I'm going to mix it up because I want to see how much glimmer that is and if it's enough or not for me. And I'll know once I mix it up if it's going to be enough or not. So I'm going to take my glossy accents and I'm just going to squirt in just maybe 3 or 4 seconds of it, okay? And you can see it going down there. I don't know if you can see it on camera or not, but it's just enough to kind of give the glimmer and the alcohol something to adhere to, so that when you apply this to your project, it doesn't flake off. Okay, so then I'm just gonna stir it up and I'm just shaking this bottle. And you can see how it's got that iridescent quality in there. That's all your glimmer getting mixed up. And I'm just gonna look at this for a second because I wanna compare it kind of to what's in this one to see if I have enough for myself, if I think that that's gonna be enough. Sorry, I know I'm shaking the camera by shaking the table. And I think it's enough. They look very similar, so I'm gonna say that that's enough. So I used about, I would say, a teaspoon of the eyeshadow, and that was to 16 ounces of alcohol. Now, if you're using one of these, I don't know, this is probably like an ounce bottle, you only need like a quarter of a teaspoon. I would say probably not even that much to have enough. And plus, the more you put in these smaller bottles, the more likely that your product is going to clog your sprayer, okay? And make sure when you use these little bottles that instead of like shaking, you swirl. Okay, because that's going to lift the mica off the bottom without pushing it into the sprayer portion of it. Okay, and then once you get it all off the bottom, and then you can give it a good shake. Okay, but you want to look at your bottom and make sure all of your glimmer is off the bottom, and then you can give it a good shake to really mix it up. But if your glimmer is still on the bottom, don't shake it like that because it'll force the little flakes of mica into the sprayer, and that's how it gets clogged. Okay, so now I want to make the gold, and since I don't have a jar for the gold, I'm going to make it straight into my container. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill this up with alcohol. And like I said, I don't know how much I'm going to use this gold. That's why it's kind of a, I don't know, I'm just going to try it out because I see a lot of people using like the gold lindies on their projects and it looks so pretty that I want to try it out. So I just filled this up with alcohol. I didn't quite use my entire thing of alcohol. So I think this is like maybe 4, probably 5 or 6 ounces, I guess, in there. So I'm just going to pop my top off my gold, and then I'm going to take my end of my paintbrush, and I'm just going to start knocking this in there. Oop, I knocked a little bit out. Okay. And I think that that is probably enough for the gold. And again, if you're just using one of the smaller spray bottles, don't put that much in there. You won't need it. My dogs are barking downstairs. The weather is like, well, today it wasn't too bad. It was just really, really cold. So I haven't been like, our Siberian Husky, she likes to sit outside like all the time. But when it's that cold out, I know she's a snow dog or whatever, but I don't want her to get too cold. So I don't let her sit outside usually. Okay, so then I've just put my like 3 or 4 seconds of glue, glossy accents or whatever glue you're going to use in there. And then I'm just going to put my hand over the top because I don't want to put my sprayer in there yet because I just want to shake this up and see what it's going to look like. So I'm just kind of going to spray it around. And then you can see, look at all that gold. Isn't that gorgeous? You can see that gold iridescent glimmer. It's like, it's beautiful. I love it. So I hope that this sprays out really nice. Let's try it on this paper, the back. Let me give it a couple squirts so that it starts coming out. Buford, what you doing, buddy? Ah, sorry if he moved the camera. I think he did. Okay, oop. There you can see the gold glimmer come out. Now I would turn my sprayer to a much finer spray. That's the other reason that I like these sprayers is you can control how fine the spray is. So let me wipe that off and I'll show you again. Maybe. There we go. So you can see it's got that really pretty gold shimmer in it. I really actually like this. This looks really good. I'll probably be using this just as much as I use the clear. Okay, so that's what I did. That's how I make my glimmer. And if you wanted to add color, okay, say you wanted to add color to this one, to your clear one, you would just take your re-inker or your alcohol ink. I've used them both. Or if you, in my case, I've even used like Jacquard acid dyes, which aren't acidic until you add acid to them. But I used to dye yarn, so I have a ton of dyes for yarn on hand. So I've used that lots of times. Kool-Aid you can use. You can use RIT dye. Anything that has the, you know, a strong color base you can use for paper, and it will be fine. So, all right, everybody, I hope that you've enjoyed this tutorial. I hope that you'll try and make your own glimmer if you are so inclined. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.